All right, what's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled "Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father" at Amazon Kindle. Create space. Link will be in the description box below as usual. This one is entitled "Dating in Divorce Culture." It's one thing that people are looking for companionship. In an era where most people come from, I shouldn't say most, where a lot of people come from divorced families or broken homes or single parent homes, but the culture itself is starting to lean more to a divorce culture, not a married culture. So when you're out there dating people, it's kind of the same thing. Like, people want to be compensated for their time, even dating. You know, it went from chivalry to divorce. Like, luckily they don't have lawyers to, like a dating family court to say what you should get after the dating is over, But it's pretty much the same thing. Like, everybody has it's so many agendas, and people are so fearful of getting hurt because of the fallouts that they've seen in their own lives, and some adults who've been married and divorced. You know, you don't want to meet new people, or you might overly scrutinize the wrong person because of some of your traumatic experiences. Now, the irony is, this has more to do with fear than it does love or companionship, because you're scared of getting hurt. You're scared of wasting your time. You're scared of um, losing some of your resources on a person who is just using you. You're scared of wasting your sexual marketplace value with the wrong person. So, ironically, it's paralysis of analysis. What you gonna do? You know, you go out and there's no connection with people because of all of these mental blocks. It's kind of like talking to Groot when you go out on a date. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Like, you're figuring out people, and you don't have the time to figure out group language. But at the same time, when it shifts, is you may feel entitled. Um, you may feel entitled because you may feel like the opposite sex owes you something because you grew up in this divorce culture. You got daddy issues, you got mama issues, so they can't pay per se. So their gender has to. You know, you have an Oedipus complex or an electric complex, and whether you think it shows up or not, it shows up. It's just um, you don't realize how much on autopilot your complex is when you're dealing with other people. You know, because sometimes the irony is people think it's excusable, like meeting strangers and not dealing with your issues before you interact with strangers and expect them to have to um, be aware of all your trauma and how you, in your trigger words and your entitlements and your hang-ups and insecurities, and it's to the point where everybody's supposed to have them. So So what? You just got to deal. And everybody's not willing to deal because there are also people who grew up in the same culture who had to fix their own problems before they um, decided to interact with other people. And then you have people who like that who may be more self-actualized than other people. So now people want to poach time off of them to get themselves to where they feel like they need to be, which is still a more of a parasitic way of interacting with somebody. So it still falls under, an entitlement. Also, you kind of got a part of the prostitution model of dating and relationships comes from, you know, the sex for money trade, basically. Also comes from divorce because you have to pay out because you had sex with this person. You may have had kids with them, so you owe them. So you got men and women cognizant that if you have sex with somebody, if a man has sex with a woman, he may owe her. The question is what and how much. That's the different topic. Um, you also see it in the interaction as far as the evolution of chivalry to the point where, yes, it's dying, but there's less affection, less concern, less um, admiration, less empathy for human beings because you weren't either taught those qualities or you figure those two qualities are weak because they didn't, because the quote unquote winner in situations had to not exhibit those qualities. So being a vulnerable human being became a weakness because it doesn't work well in divorce and single parenting. And it doesn't work well, and because it doesn't work well in that aspect of life, and people are felt to be taken advantage of for showing a vulnerability in life, then there's a loss for doing it in public and private spaces. Now, I think on top of that is the masquerade and the facade that everything is okay, because you can see that everything's not okay. Everyone is not okay, and everyone is trying to fake like they're okay and put on a good face, but it's falling apart. You know, people aren't patient because you need instant gratification and everybody needs it now. There's no such thing as a process. And at the same time, you turn it around. The process for some people is far too long. You have to prove far too much to the point where even people are starting to realize that they're asking too much of individuals that they don't know, which is a bit reckless, to say the least. A bit reckless. So the irony is people still interact. So kids are being brought into the world through a generation that dates in a divorce culture. So you create kids who think that dysfunctional relationships are normal. You know, this is the people who think the drama and the arguments and the antagonistic way and the adversarial way is how it's supposed to be, which only worsens the situation because you got two different sides thinking it's normal to be an adversary. So, this is my 2 cents. We out.